All right, it's 4 o'clock on Thursday, March 14th, and we have a quorum, so I'll call this library board meeting to order. And we've got an action-packed agenda, so let's get to it. The first item is the approval of the agenda, and I checked with April, and she indicated there's no changes or additions, so I will move that we approve the agenda as shown. I'll take a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. And then next item up is the approval of the minutes, and the minutes are in the packet, and hopefully everyone's had a chance to review them and look them over. And if there's no issues, then I will make a motion to approve the minutes. And is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the February 8th, 2024 board meeting. Any discussions, corrections? All right, hearing none, then all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carried. Next, we'll go on to the financial report. April?
We are 17.81% through 2024, and our budget is approximately 16.06% expended. Bills that we paid during February included $11,657 to Library Furniture International. That represents 50% of the meeting room furniture purchase that was budgeted for this year. They require a deposit before they'll send the product out, and then after that, we'll pay the remainder. We also paid $900 to Charles D. Ellis for the library's LibData print management software and our mobile printing license that allows our patrons to print from our computers, and so that we can manage that process, and they can also send an email to that system and print mobilely from their phone or other devices. We also paid $119 to GOG Sheet Metal to replace a regulator on one of our HVAC units. $123 to Metro Sales for our lease on our service desk copier, and $99 to Uline for fire extinguisher signs to point out where the extinguishers are in the library, and $305 to Verizon for our monthly service to the 8 Wi-Fi hotspots that we have.
All right, any questions for April on the budget? All right, hearing none, then we'll move on to the librarian's report, starting with the activities report and statistics.
On February 5th, I was interviewed by League of Women Voters member and library board member Manon Fraser. We discussed our new strategic plan for the library, as well as some of our programs and services. Our interview will be played on the New Ulm Community Access Television channel, and I think that is listed as New Ulm Forum when it's on the channel, if anyone's looking for it.
It's also on YouTube, I believe.
Yes. I, along with our maintenance technician, did a building safety inspection with our MMUA Regional Safety Coordinator on February 22nd. He didn't find any issues or concerns that we need to resolve at the library, so it was a good visit. The grant period for the grant we received last year for the digital literacy program from the Public Library Association concluded in February. We had 44 people attend 8 different class sessions from December through February on various computer topics. So we partnered with Highland Regency Apartments as well as Cass Senior Center for those programs. Our adult winter reading program also wrapped up at the end of February. We had 81 participants this year, which is an increase from last year. The Friends of the Library are providing chamber buck prizes for 5 participants that will be drawn in the next couple of weeks here. And then Megan has started working on the library card art contest that we included in our strategic plan. We're in preliminary planning stages there, but we are just looking for any library board members who might be interested in sitting on the initial judging panel for the art. So if you are interested in that, please let me or Megan know. on to statistics here. We had 114 requests for assistance with our mobile devices during February. We frequently help patrons with figuring out how to do things on their smartphones, their laptops, personal devices. So I just wanted to point that out, that we sometimes hear people say, oh, Verizon told us to go down to the library for help. We took 151 requests for the tax preparation phone number. The United Way tax preparation program is underway, so we have a lot of people looking for information on that. And then I just wanted to note that I added a couple stats to the report this month, the active patrons and the patrons added by month. I'm curious about the active patrons. I'm still kind of exploring the data there, but I want to see what constitutes the change between 2021 and 2022. I reached out to our automation librarian at TDS, and he said that the active patrons does not include patrons who have been active on Libby using e-materials. So I'm wondering if it's possibly related there, but I still have to kind of look at that more. And then we have patrons added by month. The odd months in September 2022 and October 2021 and 2023, where you see those increases, those months are when we loaded the new middle school cards each year. So that's kind of why those numbers jump in those specific months. And then you can see that new cards that we add, those numbers naturally increase in June and July during the summer reading program.
May I ask a question, April?
Yes.
I noticed it looked to me like there was an increase from about 3,900 in 2021 to a little over 7,000 in 2024 of people through the door.
Mm-hmm.
Am I hearing that accurately? Is that what that means?
Let me grab that graph here. Said you were looking at the door count.
Yeah.
So in 2021, I don't know if you'll remember, quite a while back, I had mentioned that we had to put some light blocking posters on the door because we had odd door counts when the light was hitting it in June, and that might constitute that change for the overall total year. But are you just talking about the February numbers?
Yeah, I guess my question is, it looked to me like from February of 2021 to February of 2024, there was an increase of over 3,000 in the door count. And I'm wondering if that is how you interpret that number, and if that's the case, how does that correlate to what an active patron is, which is at 1,100 or whatever the number is? And then secondarily, do we have enough staff to keep covering that kind of an increase in people in the building?
I would have to, my guess is in 2021, we are still building back our visits from the pandemic. We haven't changed our staffing level from where we were before the pandemic. So next month I could bring information about where we were before the pandemic during those months, but I think we would see it closer to where we are currently. I think we've been building back visits over the last several years where we had patrons who were visiting us less frequently, if at all, as we were in the pandemic years still.
That would be good information to have this.
Yeah.
What's the definition then of an active patron then? They use their card to check something out?
Yeah, so they had some kind of circulation activity during
Okay,
the month.
so that doesn't necessarily correlate to the door count. You could have people coming, but they don't check anything out.
Right.
And leave.
And also, in 2021, we weren't doing very many in-person programs or anything like that, so that would affect those numbers as well.
Yeah.
It still is a remarkable difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would it be okay if I take a look at the numbers from years before that and bring that to our next meeting,
That would be great.
so we can get a better sense of that?
Maybe can interpret the meaning behind all of it.
Yes.
Thank you.
And a couple of the other statistics that I've noticed that have a nice uptick curve of the Libby circulation that keeps their stepping up with
Yes.
a bigger increase in 2024. Same for the patron computer use. So that's good to see, but that kind of correlates with what you were saying about people coming to you with help for their devices. So maybe are most of the questions related to using Libby on those devices, or?
Well, we actually track the Libby questions we get separately. Let me find it here. So Libby help during February was 18 questions. So troubleshooting mobile devices can be kind of anything beyond Libby.
Okay.
But I think some of the Libby increase is the fact that TDS has increased their spending on Libby too, so there's more materials that people want available. But then we also have, I feel just kind of anecdotally from my experience working at the service desk that I've helped more people who have said, oh, I want to know about how to get started with Libby, where we're still helping people get familiar with the service as well.
All right, any other questions then on the activities report and statistics? All right, then we'll move on next to programming.
So this Saturday, March 16th at 1 p.m., we have the Wanda Gog birthday celebration. So we'll be reading one of Wanda's stories. We'll have some treats and games and crafts for families to come enjoy at the library. And then we have started a new senior movie matinee program Fridays at 1 p.m. at the library. That's in partnership with the Cass Senior Center. Just to note that there's no movie on March 29th this month, though.
All right, any questions on programming? All right, then we'll go to the Brown County Library Board update.
The Brown County Library Board meets twice a year in June and November. At their November meeting, they asked the library directors to give a mid-year update to the commissioners, which we had done in 2023 as well. And so the purpose of that is just to update the commissioners on how the libraries are doing, new things we're experiencing, services we've added or changed, to give them a sense of, all the things that we're accomplishing throughout the year. So on Tuesday, March 5th, myself, the Comfrey Library Director, and the Springfield Library Director, as well as Yvonne Weber, who's a member of the Brown County Library Board, met with our commissioners. So we gave updates on the services that we're offering, as well as some of the challenges that the various libraries are facing in Brown County. The commissioners had questions about the New Ulm 3D printer, our memory lab, how we choose programming, what programming to offer, and then they also talked about the human library event that we had. Commissioner Borkert noted that our library acts as the emergency operations call center during a large-scale emergency, so he thanked us for our participation in that. And they were glad to have the chance to hear about how our libraries are doing. The Brown County Library Board will next meet on Monday, June 10th at 7 p.m. at the Dykeman Free Library in Sleepy Eye. Yvonne, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything about that.
Just to add, it was so nice to see and feel the level of support that the commissioners have for the New Ulm Library and the other county libraries. Just felt like there was a lot of appreciation for the work that is done and what it adds to the communities.
All right, thanks for that update. Now we'll get into the action items, and we got a slew of them today. First one is resolution number 2024-03, approving the 2023 Minnesota Public Library Annual Report for New Ulm Public Library. This is the first reading and adoption. By state law, the submission of the 2023 Minnesota Public Library Annual Report for New Ulm Public Library is a submission of the Library Board and must be approved by it. Attached is a copy of the report for the New Ulm Public Library as prepared by the library director, April Ide. And so the report is attached, and it's also available on the city website as are all the attachments that are included in our board meeting pamphlet. And then, I don't know, we're not gonna go through it line by line, because it's pretty involved, and it's a boatload of statistics. But April's been doing this for a number of years, so she knows what she's doing. But I will ask if there's anything noteworthy that you want to bring to our attention regarding the statistics, or?
Sure. I just wanted to know, it will look in the packet like there are two of the same report. And that's because the Department of Education asked us to report on the administrative entity as well as the locations or outlets, they call it. Since we don't have any branches, we're not part of a wider system. We're one library, one location. Both of those reports are essentially the same for us, but they appear twice because of the way they collect the data. So the report is due April 1st of each year. Past year's reports for all Minnesota libraries can be found on the Minnesota Department of Education website. And then the state compiles the info that libraries report and shares it with the Public Library Association, which offers some tools for libraries who want to benchmark themselves against other libraries in the nation. On page 2, some of the stats that I'll note is that visits were up 6.7% from 77,993 to 83,202 in 2023. Our contact list visits decreased from 55 to 2 in 2023, and we haven't had any contact list visits requests in 2024 so far. We offered those during the pandemic, and they have just kind of waned over the past several years, and we offered them until they dried up, the requests dried up. And then physical circulation was up 0.5% over 2022, while downloadable circulation was up 22% over 2022. Just to note, comparing us to TDS region-wide physical circulation declined 6% in 2023, and downloadable circulation rose 23%. So we're pretty in line with the downloadable circulation, but we're holding steadier than the region with our physical circulation. On page 4, total program attendance was up 5% over 2022, and that includes virtual programs that were live as well as in-person programs that were live. Well, they would be if you were in person. And then on page 8, our total volunteer hours were down from 122 hours in 2022 to 50 hours in 2023. And I just wanted to note that revamping our volunteer program is a strategic plan activity for, it's slated for 2027, but we can begin work on that earlier than then. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So is the volunteer hours and the number of volunteers being down, I suppose the stuff that they would normally do then reverts back to the library staff? So does that impact the effectiveness of the staff then, or?
The thing that most of our volunteers have done for us in recent years is shelf reading. So it's putting the shelves back in order, straightening things. So the biggest effect it would have is that the shelves might be less orderly, the fewer volunteers that we have. That's not a very engaging task for volunteers to do, and that's part of the reason we want to revamp that program is so that it's an interesting and exciting thing to volunteer at the library, and something that's more engaging for people who want to be involved that way, rather than sending them out to stare at numbers on the spines by themselves.
See where that is. People inside.
It has to be done, though.
No.
All right, any other questions for April then? All right, then hearing none, then I will accept a motion to approve the 2023 Minnesota Public Library Annual Report for New Ulm Public Library.
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, questions? All right, hearing none then, you want to call the roll?
Sarah,
Yes.
Dustin, yes. Vince,
Yes.
Yvonne,
Yes.
Manon,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Carl.
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
And thank you, April. That shows an awful lot of work
Yes.
to assemble it and all the work that goes throughout the year to have all those statistics at your fingertips.
So how much time does it take to compile this report?
Well, TDS is extremely helpful with this. So all of the statistics that can be pulled from our shared resources, like our integrated library system, Libby, the computer software, those things are compiled by TDS, which is really helpful. So I just pull those from the TDS spreadsheets and plug them into the annual report. And then things like our door counts, our programming stats, our financials, those are the pieces that I have to plug in. So I would say pulling all of that information, putting it in, and then double checking myself is, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 hours that I spent on it.
So the information's out there in various locations, you just gotta go find it,
Yeah.
bring it in, and then load it into the report.
Yes.
So it's not like you gotta go out and find that information. I mean, you guys have been doing this for,
Right.
you know
Start
what
from
to
scratch.
collect.
And the Department of Education, each year they improve, they have a lot of resources there's a online form that you're entering it into that compiles it into this report you see in your packet. And they have a lot of documentation about what are we asking for with this statistic number? What should you be reporting here? So that's really helpful as well.
Are there any new things from year to year that's like, oh, now we gotta go find this information?
During the pandemic, introduced a lot of things where they were looking at like live virtual programs, recorded programs, contact list visits, those kind of things. And so they've started to kind of compile more of those back down again, where there are less different statistics we're looking at for programming. But I see some of those probably holding on for a few more years at least.
All right. Second action item is Resolution 2024-04, accepting Catholic Community Foundation of Minnesota grant. This is the first reading and adoption. In March 2024, the New Ulm Public Library was selected to receive a grant of $1,250 from the Catholic Community Foundation of Minnesota, CCF, which may be used towards entrance improvements and/or security camera installation. This grant is made possible by the Public Library Fund at CCF, which supports capital improvements for public libraries every year. As a condition of receiving the grant, the library must keep track of how the funds are spent and complete an impact report in early 2025. The library director is currently working on to obtain quotes for replacement of the library's southwest entrance and for installation of security cameras throughout the library. So, I will entertain a motion to accept the Catholic Community Foundation of Minnesota grant.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? So, April, when you say you're looking to obtain quotes for replacement of the library's southwest entrance, what are you talking about, doors?
Yes, the doors by the book drop.
Okay.
They are aging, and we are concerned about the ability of those latches to hold. Our maintenance technician has found some good temporary solutions, so the building is secure, but we need a more permanent fix for that.
I know at one of the meetings from a few months ago now, you had mentioned you were looking at going with Nosbush to replace them, and you were having trouble getting a hold of them. And I kind of indicated that our church had used Nosbush, and they said it was a long waiting time.
Okay.
And our church just had their doors replaced, and I don't know how many months they were waiting. So just keep plugging away if that's one of the places you're looking at.
Yeah, it sounded, when I was reaching out, it sounded like everybody was very busy.
All right, any other discussion or questions? All right, then I'll call the roll.
Sarah,
Yes.
Dustin, yes. Vince,
Yes.
Yvonne,
Yes.
Manon,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Carl.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Next one, this is the biggie.
Vince, can I make
Oh,
one note on that
yep.
one? I just wanted you to be aware, I've been working with the city's IT director for security camera quotes. And kind of based on the timing of when the vendors were able to visit, we couldn't get it into this month's packet, which fine, there was enough to do. But I think it might be on your April agenda.
Okay. And that's for cameras throughout the whole library?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then that, the grant that we just approved, then that can be utilized for that.
Yes.
Okay. All right, now we're on resolution number 2024-05, the accepting of the Mellon Foundation Grant, first reading and adoption. In March 2024, the New Ulm Public Library was selected to receive a grant of $250,000 from the Mellon Foundation, which will be used towards upgrading and enhancing the library's memory lab, local history projects, and enhancements to library services and space. The library's approved proposal is attached. As a condition of receiving the grant, the library must keep track of how the funds are spent and report progress to the Mellon Foundation annually throughout the project. The library director must also sign the attached grant agreement. The city's attorney has reviewed the grant agreement and did not have any concerns. If approved, by the library board, the agreement will be forwarded to the city council for approval. And so the grant agreement and the grant proposal are attached. Both are pretty lengthy. We're not going to read through them. The grant approval is a lot of more legalese type wording, and because the city attorney has looked at it already and has not noted any issues, then we're fine with that. But the grant proposal itself is really where the meat of this is. That's also a pretty lengthy document. But April, look to you to provide us with a summary of what that entails.
Sure. I just want to make a note too. I checked in with the city manager, and the city council does not have to formally accept it as a resolution. They'll just need to acknowledge
Oh, okay,
the receipt
good.
of it. Yep. And so the project itself, our two key goals with the memory lab our two key goals in applying for this grant were to improve our ability to act as a community gathering space and to collect and preserve stories of the past and present in our local area. So the grant will allow us to offer some new services that we don't currently have available in the library, which will include study room pods, a Spanish language version of our website, and charging stations for mobile devices. We kind of have limited outlets throughout the library, so that'll allow us to offer more for people working with their own devices. And then in the memory lab itself, we will update equipment, including adding new formats. They may include 8mm film, high H tape, beta tape, oral recording devices, and more. And then it'll allow us to update some of the computers and software we have in the memory lab, including a new microfilm reader. And then we will create a more welcoming and private space for the memory lab. So we're looking at putting the memory lab itself in some form of pod so that the equipment is secure and that it's a little bit more private space for people who are digitizing. And then we'll also be buying equipment to stabilize the temperature and the humidity in our lower level storage area where we have things like bound newspapers, yearbooks, plat books, those kind of things. And then we'll be working on creating a mobile memory lab that we can use in conjunctions with schools or senior living facilities in town, and then working on an oral histories project. And I just want to recognize Leroy Harris, our Programming and Technology Services librarian. He did a lot of work writing this grant, researching the timelines, the prices, all of the information that went into it, and refining and answering the Mellon Foundation's questions about these projects. So I just really want to recognize him for his work. He's done an excellent job, and this grant would not be in front of you without his work. So.
I want to second that. I didn't read through the whole grant word for word, but just looking at it is pretty intensive. There's a lot of information in there, so yeah, I can tell there was a lot of time spent at gathering that information.
Beautifully done.
Yep.
Congratulations to the director and the staff who all participated in submitting a thorough and detailed, successful grant application. That's great work.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so with that, I will entertain a motion to accept the Mellon Foundation grant.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion, questions? All right, hearing none, then we'll take the roll.
Sarah,
Yes.
Dustin, yes. Vince,
Yes.
Yvonne,
Yes.
Manon,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Carl.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Excellent. That's a good one. These are all good ones, but that's a really good one. All right, next one, resolution number 2024-06, approving the updated library card application. First reading and adoption. In March 2023, member libraries of Traverse the Sioux Regional Library switched to the Evergreen Integrated Library System, or ILS. The patron registration screen of the Evergreen ILS has different formatting than the prior ILS. The library director recommends that the library board approve the attached draft library card application for immediate use so that staff may register new patrons more efficiently. Most changes are to the order of the fields that the new patron must fill out. Other notable changes include the addition of checkout receipt options, addition of option to have pickup, overdue, or bill notifications texted, addition of phone carrier field, which is required to have notifications texted, addition of pickup location field. Updates to the New Ulm Public Library's library card application are usually presented as part of the updates in the library's circulation policy. However, the library director is not recommending any changes to the policy at this time. So the question I have is, this change to this card application does not in any way impact that circulation policy then, right?
No.
It just makes mention of the library card application?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. So this is just the format we use to collect the information. We need to
Okay.
register a card.
All right, so I will entertain a motion to
I'll
approve the updated library card application. So, Manon,
I'll
you,
move. Yeah.
okay, I'll second it. Any other discussion, questions? All right, hearing none, then we'll take the roll.
Sarah,
Yes.
Dustin, yes. Vince,
Yes?
Yvonne,
Yes.
Manon,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Carl.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. And the next and last item is a resolution number 2024-07, approving the updated lost and found policy. This is only the first reading. We won't be approving this at this month's meeting, but we will be reviewing it. So the library director recommends that the library board adopt the updated lost and found policy so that the library's policy and procedure regarding lost and found items is clear to both patrons and library staff. The policy was last updated in 2011. Notable changes include changing the definition of items of minimal value from less than $5 to now less than $10. The change period library will hold unclaimed items from originally 30 or 90 days is now going to be 14 days. Adding forwarding of certain valuable and dangerous / illegal items to the New Ulm Police Department. Adding a procedure for logging of lost and found items and storage location of unclaimed items, and the draft log is attached. and the adding of the disposition of unclaimed flash drives and documents. The library director confirmed that the New Ulm Police Department is willing to take possession of valuable items after 14 days. So we'll quickly go through the policy. We got the old library policy being struck out, and then the new stuff being added is in red font. The New Ulm Public Library is not responsible for any patrons' lost, left behind, or stolen items. Patrons are solely responsible for their own property, and the library is not responsible for unattended items that are mistaken as lost items. It is the responsibility of the owner to stay in sight of and keep track of all personal belongings at all times. Library staff are not authorized to watch over private property and should not be asked to do so. As a courtesy, the library will hold unclaimed lost and found items for 14 days. All lost and found items are to be brought to the library's service desk. A lost and found item is defined as an unclaimed object valued at $10 or more, or of obvious intrinsic value that is not New Ulm Public Library property. Staff will tag the item with date found and log the item in the lost and found log. Service desk staff will attempt to contact the owners of lost items only when an owner is known and can be contacted. All lost and found items will be stored securely in the library director's office or the library safe, depending on the size and item value, until they are claimed, donated, or disposed of. The library assumes no responsibility or cost of reuniting a lost item with its owner. Employees and volunteers may not take personal possession of lost and found items. Items not claimed within 14 days will be donated to charity, destroyed, recycled, or forwarded to the New Ulm Police Department. Disposition of items will be recorded in the lost and found log. Unclaimed cash and books without library or school property labels will be donated to the Friends of the New Ulm Public Library. Certain types of property, including unclaimed identification documents, driver's license, credit cards, wallets, laptops, and cell phones will be forwarded to the New Ulm Police Department. Due to patron privacy, library staff will not access files saved on flash drives or other technology to determine ownership. After 14 days, flash drives will be destroyed. Documents left in library copy machines or scanners will be kept for 24 hours, then shredded. Dangerous or illegal items will be logged and forwarded immediately to the New Ulm Police Department. Hazardous or perishable items and items of minimal value, that is, values less than $10, will not be tagged or logged and will be disposed of immediately. And the last line is that this will be approved at next month's meeting on April 11th, 2024. So, any questions, concerns, edits that anyone can think of right now?
April, is it your intention that once this new policy is adopted, that all the items that were in the lost and found prior to the adoption of the policy will be held under the terms of the previous rules or the new rule?
The new rules. So we'll hold them for 14 days and then dispose as described here.
So do you have a lot of stuff in the lost and found right now?
A few items. I think there's probably like mismatched mittens and hats in there. Probably a couple coffee bottle, water bottle type things.
Okay.
The only change I would recommend is the last sentence, make that a new paragraph. The hazardous or perishable items, just make that as a...
So it stands out. Yeah.
And then it does indicate that hazardous items will be disposed of immediately. What's the library's policy for not only what is considered a hazardous item, but do they have like a policy for disposing of them? I mean, you're not supposed to just throw stuff in the trash if it's considered hazardous.
Right. Depending on what it is. So, if it's like a needle or something, we would want to dispose of that properly. I can't remember. I think one of the restrooms has a sharps dispenser. Yeah. So things like that. if we were unsure how to handle it, we would just contact the police department for
Okay,
some
that's
assistance.
a good
with it.
idea. Okay. All right, any other questions concerning the lost and found policy? And then it'll be out on the website for the next month and stuff, so people can,
Yes, this version of it is available, if you go to the city's website, newalmmn.gov, and then choose, government, there's a spot for agendas, and all the library board agendas, including, this policy from today, can be found there.
all right. Any other business? All right, hearing none, then we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. You did a lovely job.